everyone, my name is Sabrina.
And I'm Laika.
And we're from the YWCA TASK program in Malden, which stands for Teen Advocates Sharing Knowledge. We recently did a project called Faces of Recovery, and we're here with you again today for this new project that we call What About Her? Since the YWCA is a gender-specific agency, we have decided to focus on women in recovery specifically for this project. Now ladies, could each of you please tell us your first name and how long you've been in recovery for?
My name's Caitlin. I will have 5 years clean on December 5th.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My name's Tina, and actually I'll have 5 years tomorrow.
Wow.
My name's Jessica, and I just celebrated 10 years clean a couple months ago.
Congrats to all of you.
All right, to get into the interview. So, were there any specific events that occurred in your life that helped you realize you finally needed help?
I would say at the end of my using, right, when I decided to go get help, was probably the day that they told me I couldn't see my daughter anymore. No one had ever taken that away from me. I had been using for years. I showed up one day at her father's house and they had packed all my stuff and they told me I was no longer welcome. And, you know, I didn't get clean that day, but that was like the beginning, right, of like the next steps to like start getting clean. And like it wasn't long before I had gone into treatment and started my recovery journey. It was a couple weeks after that, actually.
That must have been hard for you.
Yeah, it was hard, but you know, I knew that, you know, the only thing I had to do was stay clean and they would let me see her, and I think that was like the one barrier that, you know, everything else they took away, like my mother had kicked me out, it wasn't enough, my boyfriends had broken up with me, wasn't enough, taking my money away, losing my jobs, anything, my family not answering the phone for me wasn't enough, but like, yeah, I don't know, the day they told me I couldn't see her, it only took a couple weeks and then, yeah, finally, enough was enough.
Like when you say like they took her away from her, like who are you talking about?
My daughter's father. So her father told me I was no longer allowed to see her with the support of my mother and his mother.
Yeah, I have a similar situation. I didn't know that I needed help at all. I thought everything was great in my life until, you know, DCF was at my house and my ex-husband took emergency temporary custody of my kids. And like Jessica, you know, I did actually get sober at that time, but the pain was like the most pain I had ever felt, not being able to see them. They were literally like, I got served papers and their father picked them up at school and like they literally got ripped away from me. And it was a journey to like even to visit them. That journey took a couple of months of being in front of a judge, you know, being held accountable at probation, stuff I had never experienced before. So it was a very eye-opening experience. But like today I can say that like I'm extremely grateful that I went through that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. But do you guys have good relationship with your children now, would you say?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, my daughter's my best friend. Actually, I celebrated a year clean and her father had relapsed and I had to take custody of her. So he actually now hasn't seen her in almost 10 years. Yeah.
And would you, not gearing too much far away, but have you guys, like any of you, have you or someone you know ever relapsed because of something negative another woman has said?
I mean, probably at some point. I think I started using because of negative things of like other people saying when I was younger. Not recently, no, but definitely when I was younger, yeah, I have.
Well, it gets really catty, right? When you come into recovery and you're dealing with a bunch of other men and women, but women specifically, right? Like, we say we don't judge, right? But like, I don't like the way she looked at me. But I don't even know who she is or what that face means to her. I'm someone who does not always look approachable, and I'm very approachable. So, you know, I've seen certain things like women not come back to like a 12-step fellowship or leave a halfway house because of something another woman has made her feel. I've seen it probably hundreds of times over the last 10 years, definitely.
Following up with that, do you believe that women need more care and resources in recovery in comparison to men? And if so, why?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. I would say just to get into treatment alone is a lot harder for women. There's way more treatment centers, sober houses, halfway houses for men than there are for women. Even just like the follow-up care.
Well, statistically, they say women don't stay clean, right? And I think a lot of that we've talked about before is like the barriers, right? Like my husband can go to detox for the week and like not have to worry about anything, right? The bills are already paid, thankfully, and if they weren't getting paid when he was here, they're definitely not getting paid anyone who's not here, so it's the same thing.
Right.
The kids, like I already take care of all that. It's definitely what shouldn't be a gender-specific role has become something that I know these other two women as well feel because I've had to live it, right? I've had to send my husband to detox, and if I had to go to detox, he wouldn't even know what time to drop the kids off in the morning. Never mind, make it home in time to like, they'd be eating dinner at 8 o'clock. Or like knowing like when there's an orthodontist appointment, when there's a doctor's appointment, when there's a softball game, when she has her drama, how much time is appropriate that she gets to spend with her friends or him on his tablet, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so the resources for women, you know, there's not many programs where you can bring your children. There are some, but the numbers, they don't match what I will say Massachusetts, but the world, right, really needs right now.
Yeah, and I think I want to expand on that a little bit more because like when we say resources, we also mean like some women, maybe they don't work, and so they don't have the income, but then there's like, you know, you can get a voucher for daycare. Maybe they don't drive, so that's another barrier. Like who is going to take over for them to drive their kids everywhere they need to go or pick them up? What does that look like for somebody, right? And maybe the woman doesn't drive at all, so now she's in a situation where who is she gonna ask? Because maybe she doesn't know anybody else that has a car, right? So now she's really stuck. And then add that in, like women going into treatment, and then next thing you know, in some cases, DCF could be called. And you know, women are afraid to go into treatment because they don't want DCF to come into their life. And there is a fine line for that, and it can happen. And I think that's a huge fear for women, that if somebody finds out that's not supposed to know, that, you know, that's what they have in their headspace, right? And so they say, no, I can't do that because I don't want to go down this road with my kids. I think there's just a lot of barriers in that sense.
And you mentioned a halfway house. Like, what is that?
So a halfway house is like a long-term treatment. So they have like men's specific, women's specific. I'm sure they have co-ed somewhere. But it's typically like a 6-month to a year program that you live at, where you can go out and work eventually at some point to get you like better life situated. But like she said, there's not many that take kids. So like if you're a woman and you want to go to further treatment and you have kids, you have to look at that as well, as in like, are my kids going to go with DCF? Are they going to be able to stay with their family? Is their father around, or are they getting high too? But they do have them. It's just a lot harder to get into.
And like I work in treatment, so I see this a lot too. And I work at a facility where you can come in for detox and then stay for like an additional 30 days. And the statistics at the facility that I work at is much greater, that women leave within the first 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and like some of them don't have children, but the majority of them do.
Yeah.
And they leave, and the first reason they give why they want to leave against advice is because their kids need them.
Right.
And then we try to say to them, like, you know, your kids do need you, but if you're not well, you know, you're still not really helping them.
Right.
So yeah, it's a catch-22. Yeah.
And for those, do you all have children? Yes? Okay. So for all of you who do have children, do you think being informed on the topic of substance abuse and recovery has helped you raise your kids in a way?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, there is a difference, and I think everyone has their opinion, right? I'm in recovery, but like I work a program that like is to help me grow and heal, right? And it's therapeutic. It's not therapy. I need to make that clear. You know, I have a sponsor. I have sponsees. I work the 12 steps. We do not have enough time to like go through the 12 steps, right? But it's like a booklet with questions, right? And I go through it with another human being that I trust, and it's given me not only the compassion, the understanding, the patience that I didn't have before. It's been, you learn these things in recovery to take them in your outside life. So like I've been there with my child, right? Like my child has tried substances, you know, she's 15 years old. And she was able to come to me, even when she didn't think she wanted to come to me, because she used substances in my house and I have a substance-free home. You know, I was able to identify some of the things going on in her life that maybe my parents didn't identify with me because they weren't educated, you know. And I know that you've talked about this like with your kids too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think like some of it too for me was like I didn't have the information, right? So now that I have been informed, it's easier to talk to my children about it and let them know like that no matter what, they can always come to me. And I think another, you know, to add to this, another layer is prevention. And like, you know, prevention should be starting in elementary schools, like 3rd, 4th grade, like
Right.
giving the kids the information, because at some level the substances become the symptom. It's not the problem. Like the problem, something has happened before they find the substances. You know, they're trying to escape feelings, or they don't feel like they fit in. And I know we've talked about that so much, but I'm really like trying to advocate so much for prevention in the schools. Like prevention they want to do at high school, it's not too late. The statistics, you can look up statistics today and you'll see. I just read they started this particular survey with kids age 12. Kids age 12 have already tried substances. So like we're missing it in high school. It needs to be younger. It needs to be like 6, 7 years old, because kids are smart and they understand,
Yeah,
right?
they do.
So if you explain it in a way that they can understand, with words that they can understand, it'll make sense to them. And maybe that can help so that they don't pick up a substance by the time they're 12. Maybe they can ask for help instead, right?
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
I agree with that.
Did you want to expand on that at all, or maybe they covered it already?
Well, no, I mean, I started using substances when I was 12, right? And like no one ever said any different, that it wasn't okay or was okay, until it was already done. And then even like, especially for kids growing up in a household with another addict, right? Like they may see things and not know what it is, and then they want to know just because they see it. Whereas if like it's being taught and they see it, they're like, oh,
Well,
maybe I
it's being
shouldn't do
normalized,
that. Maybe I
right?
shouldn't.
Yeah, especially alcohol is normalized.
Yeah,
all the
alcohol
ads
is
on
very
TV,
normalized,
everything.
but like
yeah.
I know personally, you grew up with your father's an addict. You know what I mean? I grew up like in, not maybe an addict household with drugs, but like my father was a big gambler and a sex addict, and he cheated on my mom, and like he would go spend all our money on gambling or whatever he was doing, and we'd have no heat or hot water for 6 months. I thought that was normal. You know, I thought, oh, everybody just went through a rough time,
Yeah.
and they had to like boil a little pot on an electric burner to like shower. And I think that like breaking cycles is like something
Yeah.
we talk about a lot, and you know, part of that is like with my child being able to come to me. She knows she's probably going to get punished, but that means like no cell phone and no going out with your friends for a week. It's like not like me putting my hands on you, because that's what happened to me as a child. You know, the punishment needs to fit the crime.
Right.
Um,
But then also letting her know that it's okay to trust me, to tell me this, but we have to figure out like how we're going to change that, and that's a start, like a conversation,
Yeah.
right? And then taking away the cell phone. She's not going to want to keep losing her cell phone,
Yeah.
so she's going to change her behavior, and like that's where we have that conversation with the kids, when they're able to make those choices, and they can make healthy ones, as opposed to not reaching out and asking for help, and then making some unhealthy choices, which lead to, like I said, by the time they get to high school, it's pretty much too late. They've already made
Yeah.
some choices that they don't want to change because it feels good to them.
Did you ever feel like you couldn't speak to anyone about what you were going through?
Absolutely. There was like no feelings talked about in my household at all. which made it like harder to go to my mom for something. My dad was in and out, so like that was also normal. But even just like talking about him to her, it would be, oh, tell your friends he's at work. Oh, do this. Oh, do that. Like my feelings were never acknowledged or like valued as a child. I mean, now it's different, but then just gotten a lot better. Thank God.
Well, I mean, with that too, like I was taught to wear a mask at an early age, right? Like I was being physically abused, sexually abused. I had no heat or hot water. My parents were like, you know, my mom's trying to hold it together, and I didn't know these things, right? Because I was so young, but they taught me if everything looked good on the outside, like I'd be okay. And like that's part of the reason why I struggled to like admit that I was an addict for so long, because I got straight A's. I was captain of the cheerleading squad. We don't all live under a bridge homeless. You know, and that really kept me out of like recovery for a long time, because I thought that like I was just someone that partied on the weekends and, you know, maybe had a little too much on a Wednesday. Until it got like, because I wouldn't ask for help then, because, you know, I was told as, no one asked me how I was doing as a child. No one cared. It was like, okay, kids are to be seen, not to be heard. And if you cry, I will give you something worth crying about. And that's like a hard pill to swallow when no one values you, or you feel like no one values you, you know, other than to be physically or on paper acceptable.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the stuff that like I was holding in that I couldn't share was like all internalized stuff about not feeling good enough, right? And not thinking that like, well, actually no, thinking that because I didn't have like this kind of car or I didn't wear these kind of clothes, that I didn't fit in with like the other moms or whatever. And like that stuff, like I can pinpoint it like throughout like, you know, my teenage years, early 20s, you know, then I started having kids, and then I didn't care because I was having kids, and so my focus was on the children, right? And then trying to give them, like put that stuff on them because I lacked that at a certain, you know, at a certain time. And then, you know, just moving forward with that, and then something was still always missing though. And I never could put my finger on it. But I always thought like, well, if the kids look good and you know, I have like a job and like my house looks good, then everything is okay. But really I was just masking everything. And like, so when like it got to that point, like, you know, this is my time because my anniversary is tomorrow. So like all of the couple of weeks leading up to like today, 5 years ago, I didn't have any idea what was going on in my life, and like it just it like came to a screeching halt with the drugs and the alcohol, and you know, obviously like outside sources intervened because I needed that, but I didn't know. So then they were like put in front of me, and then that's when it was like when they were saying like you need to do this, this, and this, and I was saying okay, and then I get worse consequences sober, like losing the kids and stuff. But like I wasn't afraid after that because it was like the gig was up. People knew something was wrong, and so like I'm grateful that I was able to just say, okay, just show me what to do so that I can just continue to like try to figure out what I need to do to fix it.
And do you think because of those kinds of challenges and resources that women just don't have, do you think that it makes it harder for women to admit they have an addiction?
Yeah, I think if we can continue to like show that the outside looks good, that we think that we're fooling people. But like I think the people closest to us would, you know, they know. Like my mother was always the one that would say, I think you're going out too much. I think you're drinking too much. Like, don't you feel like crap in the morning when you're getting the kids ready for school? And I was like, yeah, but it's all right. You know, that's part of the whole game. My mother knew, and like moms know, right? Should have listened to my own mother. But she's a very big supporter of me, her and my dad. So like I'm grateful for that. But yeah, I think, you know, like when the gig is up and you know it and you're honest with yourself, that's when the journey starts.
And did either of you want to expand on that? It's okay if not.
I had something in my head and I totally...
That's okay.
I forgot what the question was, to be quite honest.
I just said if like given the challenges and given the resources you don't feel you have, like it's harder? Do you think it's harder for women to admit they have an addiction?
So I think that the stigma, like especially our parents and the generation before us, have instilled of like, you know, how we're quiet, we don't talk to the public. Like, you know, I've learned like, and everyone has their opinions, like DCF doesn't have to be the enemy. DCF can be a resource. They will help you with daycare. They will help you get clean. They will help you, like you said, they told you what to do. Like I had to go to a halfway house and, you know, be in at a certain time and get urine at a certain time and like told when I could go look for a job or, you know, what meetings to go to. Yeah, just like a safe place, you know, like we talk about women supporting women and, you know, that's hard when you're insecure about yourself.
Right.
And you don't even realize you're doing it. Which is a bigger topic and conversation for like the whole world, you know?
Yeah.
Like someone said earlier, like this affects everyone.
It does,
It does.
certainly.
Definitely family.
Are there any self-care techniques that you guys do to just keep yourself grounded?
So when I got here, a lot of people, like when I got to recovery, right, a lot of people talked about God and they talked about prayer and they talked about meditation. I am not religious by any nature. I do not knock anyone's religion. It was just not how I was brought up. I am Jewish and Catholic. I celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas with no religious background. I don't know what either one of them mean. I mean, now as an adult, I kind of get it, but so it kind of like people think meditation and like music, and you're just sitting there like this, like Buddha or something. I don't know. And that didn't work for me. And prayer, like getting down on my knees for me, like it didn't work for me. And the word God really scared me. And, you know, like self-care, at first it was like, you know, buying myself nice clothes because I deserved it. It wasn't just about my kids anymore. You know, I needed to feel good too. And I mean, that can be taken to an extreme too. But it was getting my nails done. It was like getting my hair done. It was not putting myself last. It was taking a shower every day. And what I began to realize is like, you know, my prayer, I'm talking to something in my head all day. You know, I'm meditating as I'm cleaning. Like if I get really angry, like instead of lashing out, because I'm really bad with I used to be really bad with my mouth, right? I like clean my house and like all the answers come to me. Like it's breathing exercises. It's calling a friend on the phone. You know, self-care looks a lot different than it did when I was your age. You know, back then I went to the beach or went tanning down the street or something. I don't know.
My self-care looks like the beach. I love the beach, and I'll bring a good book. Music is a form of self-care. Therapy, I go to outside therapy still. That's a form of self-care for me. And I just know that like it's okay to be alone today, and that's self-care for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I don't know, after I became a parent, I got clean while I was pregnant. I didn't do anything for self-care, right? Like I thought like my child was going to fix me and like everything was going to be okay. And like I put everything like into my son, and then because of that, I then put everything into men after that instead of myself. And like I've finally learned how to like be alone, right? And that's huge for me because I don't know how to be alone. I don't like being alone. I don't want to be alone, and I don't want to feel alone. But now, like, my self-care involves everything that is, like, me by myself. Even, like she said, just taking a shower every day. Like, it's hard to find the time to take a shower every day, but, like, I need to shower every day.
Right.
And then I get my eyelashes done every 3 weeks. I get reminded of that constantly.
That's
That's about
with your
it.
friends. Like we do fun
Yeah,
stuff in
we do.
recovery, and I
We
think
do.
that's something that I also struggled with. Right? Like I was like, I can't go to the club anymore, but
Right.
since I was 16. But like me and Caitlin just went to a beautiful convention, like a
Yes.
recovery convention in Vermont. Like we didn't do anything in the Vermont with like the foliage and this.
No.
I'm not an outdoorsy person. The beach is nice, but don't put me on a trail anywhere. I'm not walking. But like we had an 80s, 90s dance. We got fanny packs and teased our hair and
Wow.
like looked like Tina in high school. And, I love Tina in high school. It's a great picture. Yeah, like especially as a mom, it's hard for us to find time. But like that's something like we really worked on lately is like finding time to be with each other, rather than just at home or just a meeting or just at work or. By ourselves doing nails, hair, eyelashes.
Right.
Yeah, because we have multiple identities, right? And we need to feed all of them. So I think like being around other women that are empowering you and fixing your crown when it's crooked is very important. And then having that time to be, with those women outside of like your home life, outside of like your spouse or your partner or your children, and just to go and get in the car and just go do things in recovery. Because we do have fun in recovery.
We do.
There is lots of fun stuff to do in recovery. And I'm so grateful that like getting sober didn't mean that like life was going to be boo-hoo and not fun. I'm so glad that I can have fun still. I just have to leave some of the other stuff out. And that's okay, because for me, it was a lot of internal work that I had to do to be okay with me, to go out and have fun without needing substances, and just be okay with me. And the right people show up in my life today that are supposed to be around me. Those women and men that are supposed to be in my life are there because I'm doing the right thing.
Right.
So the other people doing the right thing are the ones that I'm surrounded with, and that's amazing.
Yeah. And for our final question, do you think, or do you have any goals that you've achieved or that you're in the process of achieving that you think wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for recovery?
God, everything I have right now. I'm like in the process of switching jobs. And like, thank God, because I needed it, because I was very, very content where I was. And like something pushed me to go further, but like I wouldn't have my children. I wouldn't be able to have a healthy relationship with their father. I wouldn't have my mom watching my children right now. I wouldn't be able to be here talking to you right now. But like literally everything in my life right now is because I stopped using. And solely because I stopped, and I know that, and I remind myself of that every day. But yeah.
It's been like a relationship with my mom. Never had one. I also never had a license.
Oh, me either.
That was something I never thought I had, that I didn't think I was worth having. It's something so simple that like we think that, I don't know, everyone thinks like they're entitled to it. It's not. Yeah, I never thought I'd have my license. I thought I was going to live on Ferry Street on a bus stop my whole life. And now I have like a beautiful brand new car that like I worked hard for. Like sometimes it's the shiny stuff. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's the shiny stuff.
There's nothing wrong with saying that.
But like having peace of mind to know that I'm gonna be okay. Like I tell people all the time, like you could burn my house down, you could like repo my car, I could lose the job, and like that internal peace that like I know everything's gonna be okay. That is like the biggest thing I've gotten from being clean. Because I'm a person that thinks like the sun is shining and the world is ending. It's raining and the world is ending. That car is not the color I want it to be. The world is ending. I was such a princess when I got here. And now I'm a queen.
And I like to be a queen too.
I do.
My journey has led me to go back to college, and I've been in college now for 4 years, working towards a bachelor's degree in human services, and like that would not be possible if I was not sober.
Definitely.
And then another goal that I had last year was I also like shiny things, and I wanted a motorcycle, and I just financed one, so I'll have it in the spring, and that was a big goal. I never could have like a fun vehicle because I never had any money, because it was always more important to go shopping and max out the credit cards. And so now, like, one thing I have learned at this stage of the game in my life is, like, I literally use an Excel spreadsheet and budget out my money for my paychecks. And, like, I've been doing this now for almost 2 years, I think, and wow, that freedom is amazing. Because I can actually do anything I want and get anything that I need. So I'm very grateful for that.
So thank you guys. That's all the time we have here today. But we really want to thank each of you for being here, for sharing your stories and your insights. Genuinely.
Thank you.
And for all of you watching, thank you for taking the time, and we hope you learned something valuable.